Hello, everybody.
Hi, Emily and friends.
So today we are joined by one of my faves, Jennifer Owens, who is the president, same thing.
Doesn't matter. Yes.
Of Lakeshore Advantage, which is an economic development organization in Holland, or in Zealand, sorry. I am very obsessed with Jennifer. Let me regale you with the tales of her greatness. A walk down memory lane. So Jennifer, prior to working or running Lakeshore Advantage, was at Southwest Michigan First, who I love. And your whole team there was like always so awesome. And that is the economic development organization for the Kalamazoo region. Is that how they would even say it? The Kalamazoo region. Okay,
sure.
So far, so good. And then prior to that is where we met at Spark. So both of us worked at Spark back in 2009-ish time, 10-ish time. And you were there prior to me being there. And I remember you interviewed me when you were pregnant with MJ, which is insane because he's now huge. And that was such good times. And then prior to that, you were at MEDC doing business development, running the business development team for quite a while. 10 years?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. So, yay. Welcome to my show.
So Emily is the accountant actually with a personality. I remember that being the first thing. I was like, an accountant who actually is funny and has a personality. This is shocking.
You're like, she must be terrible. Probably don't hire her.
I'm like, this is bizarre. I think you're the first and only that I have met an accountant with a great funny personality. So
that's probably why I didn't fare well in public accounting. After a while, we're like, okay, we're really tired of you, actually, as it turns out. Economic development, get the hell out. Cool. Okay, I'll ask you a couple questions, but as always, feel free to kind of jump in with whatever. So how, just so people kind of understand what Lakeshore Advantage is, how does Lakeshore Advantage support businesses in West Michigan, and sort of what are your core areas of focus in West Michigan?
Yeah, so Lakeshore Advantage is designed to ensure this generation and the next generation have quality jobs and a vibrant community. And so we specifically work in Allegan and Ottawa counties, which right on Lake Michigan. We're surrounded by the lakes and beautiful communities. And so our job is just to make sure businesses from startup to grown up are healthy and thrive in our region.
Oh, nice. And then what sectors kind of are you like, or what's sort of the...
Yeah, so I mean, what we work with are companies that export goods and services out of the region. So the goal is, what are the wealth generation businesses that, don't have to be here, can be anywhere in the world or in the country. Specifically on the entrepreneurial space, we're working with high-tech, high-growth companies, those that have, trademarks or patentable products, but really companies that can scale and grow and create the base of our community's economy.
Yeah, great. I love that.
Simple as that.
I love that description.
Simple as that.
And I feel like too, like anytime I do stuff with Lakeshore Advantage, or even the Surge event that you guys typically have every summer, it's like so nice to go out there, and I feel like the community is like really like authentically supports entrepreneurs. So like at the Surge event, I remember last time it was like very like, you guys have like a good number of high net worth individuals and angel investors and venture capitalists and tech companies and people that are doing like really interesting things and are based on a lot of like traditional business areas or strengths. That I feel like it was like everyone was kind of like rooting for each other and positive and really like high tide lifts all boats and stuff. So it's like so refreshing, I think, to like go to a lot of those things over there, and I feel like you guys do like such a good job.
Well, it's fun because it's a community that really was born on entrepreneurship and continues to grow based on homegrown businesses. So, I mean, our largest employers right now are Gentex Corporation, which Gentex manufactures all of the mirrors, rear view, front mirrors, but all the technology inside of it. And it was created by Fred Bauer in his garage, who had a patentable technology. Same thing with Herman Miller and Hayworth, office furniture giants, both created by entrepreneurs with big ideas. And so I think that's what makes us special, is that we don't wait for others to help us. We lift ourselves up and evolve and continue to create new products. And so that's why the community is so strong, as a result of that focus on entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yay.
Yay, entrepreneurs.
And what? Wait, you said and what?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, what was your last thing? You said and what?
Oh, no, nothing. I just yay entrepreneurs, period.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
That's it.
Okay.
The
next question I have for you. What do companies in your area need most right now, and how can economic development organizations be most helpful? And I think not necessarily like in your area, but like what is I know you're like an economic development guru. So I feel like, what do you generally feel like how economic development organizations can be helpful to their communities?
I think it's just being the easy button for employers. So there are so many tools and resources at the state, federal level, nonprofits, and businesses want to just run their company. And so to spend their time looking at how they can qualify for what or what might be available is just so overwhelming. Yeah, so to have a resource that can come in and make things simple for them, like that Staples hit the easy button. I mean, that from at least the employers in our region, it just saves so much time for them to have someone like that they can call. And then also be the lifeline in COVID, I think it's been so apparent, and still is, like how our phones, our email blew up because there's so many tools out there and executive orders and what's going on. And I think a lot of companies just shut off their email altogether, but they still called us and asked us to make it simple. So
yeah, it is really interesting, because I do think like I totally identify with that now, because in the very beginning it was like, I remember, the schools are closed, we have 2 kids at home, everything is going crazy. Like I talked to somebody who was like a few weeks in, who was just like, oh man, it's been such a full-time job, like just sorting through all of these things. And I'm like, I don't have any time for that. Like I'm trying to like work in the middle of the night to get the things we need to get done while my kids are sleeping. And like, so it was basically like working and childcare, and then like just cut out sleep altogether. And then to have somebody be like, doesn't it stink that you just have to spend like 500 hours a week on like looking for grants and loans and things? And I was like, yeah, must be nice to have that kind of stuff. Like, so that is like, it is really nice to like have organizations. And I think like different organizations have kind of done it better than others. Like is certainly that it's like when you go to some organizations, I feel like it's just another thing. Like they're just basically send you to somewhere that's like a website of some list of resources that then sends you down a rabbit hole of other research. And you're like, is basically what my face looked like for like all of March and half of April.
Well, and I think the older you get, like the more you just want to talk to a human too. Like my dad is on the line. He's like, I just want to talk to someone. Like he will wait on the line with Apple just to talk to someone. But I'm like, oh, I just want to talk to a human, like just get that interaction and tell it to me like it is, instead of clicking on 100 links and rolling back and forth. So yeah.
And I think people were setting up all these things so quickly that a lot of times it's the last thought that they had was sort of like the consumer facing side of like, they're like, we're just trying to get this like relief resource deployed somehow and figure out how to do this. And so then like figuring out the process that a business would have to go through. And I think there's a lot of things like that too. Like I mean, even like business plan competitions, a lot of people are like, oh, we're trying to like do this great thing for the entrepreneurial community. And then they don't realize how hard that is for the actual entrepreneurs participating in it. And then they're like, I don't have time to do that. Yeah. Anyway, soapbox over.
Preach, girl, preach.
Yeah. Like, and another thing, it's my aren't you interviewing me?
I guess I am.
No. Okay. Yeah. And I guess what overall, like outside of kind of the easy button, do you feel like I mean, you've worked kind of at the state level and at different regional levels and have certainly worked with people that work at other economic development organizations, and you've been a part of like even outside of the state. Like, what do you really feel like makes a good economic development organization?
I think just to be able to be nimble to respond to the economy. So, I mean, our world and now more than ever is, and so the ability to be nimble, change, respond, and not be stuck in, we've always done it this way, that makes a huge difference. So, strong economic development teams have to be constant learners, people who can embrace change and are like, change, yay, not change. Yeah. Boo, you know.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense, because I do think like there is kind of gets to be like the people that are in power in an organization and they've done things a certain way for a long time and want to continue seeing that be done that way, but then, you know, something like COVID hits for sure, and then everybody's like, oh, just kidding, let's do something different. So what do you feel are 3 important areas that businesses should focus on as we're facing, you know, we're going into a period of time where there could be like another business stop, and this can be like any state in the Midwest. I mean, like people are at various stages of opening and closing and kind of that like business interruption. Like, what do you feel like are some things that businesses should focus on as we're kind of going into that?
And are you hearing me okay, Emily? Because I'm getting a lot of like back and forth cut off. Is your internet okay, or is it on my end?
I feel like I've got 5 bars.
Okay, good. If you hear me okay, I'll just keep going. It must be on my end then.
Yeah.
So
I'm hearing you fine, but then sometimes you freeze up. You're like this.
Okay. It must be on my end. I'll change it in a minute. But so what are the things that you think businesses need to do to thrive was basically the question, right? In this time?
Yeah, like just anticipating that we've got starts and stops coming up, and it's kind of this crazy time of no one really knows and level of uncertainty. Like, how would you navigate? I mean, you're doing it with Lakeshore,
right.
Also business.
Well, I think too, it's like, and you were talking about this a little bit earlier, is about like giving your staff the freedom to work when it makes sense for them, if they can. Obviously, if you're working online or you're making a product, you can't work remote, but trust your team and empower them to kind of at this time set their own hours. I mean, a lot of us have kids at home now, no daycare. What do you do? So I think giving staff that freedom and empowering them is going to be key. If they got to work at midnight, work at midnight. But then also give them the resources they need to succeed. So we have a bunch of furniture in our storeroom closet that wasn't being used. And so we allowed our staff to take it home with them so they could be comfortable working from home. Oh, yeah. And, you know, invest in technologies like Zoom, embrace digital communication. I hate Zoom. I hate webinars. I mean, you have to do it though. But for me, I love you. But the face-to-face communication is hard. Like if you're someone who likes, like me, who likes the face-to-face and meeting, you just got to get over it and get used to it and realize this is the way we're going to have to communicate from now. I know a lot of people are saying, and especially in Michigan, will we go back to stay at home? Who knows? But be prepared for that. You know, be prepared for what's next. So I think the one thing I think all employers learned is having a contingency plan when the worst happens, and be prepared for the worst. And we've already kind of seen, you know, what the worst is. And if it happens again, be ready and have a plan in place. No one can predict the future, but continue to be nimble and pivot.
Yeah, definitely. I always joke because you know, the last economic downturn was in 2008. It was like right after I graduated from, like, when I finished my master's, and then it was like, welcome to the work world, everything's terrible, and I was like, ah. And I was joking with my, you know, Fadi. I was joking with Fadi, my friend Fadi. For those of you who are actually watching,
I know Fadi. I haven't even met him. I've just heard so much about him. Yeah. Congratulations on your baby, Fadi. Yes, congratulations.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, but we were joking because both of us, like, you know, like, had challenges when that economic downturn happened, and we both are kind of like the hustler types of like, just got to figure this out, got to do a thing. And like, for a while, like, I was like nannying, and for a while he was a photographer, which is like ridiculous because we don't do either of those things very well. And so we were just like, well, I guess if the economic downturn happens and I lose my business, you get laid off, and like all this terrible stuff happens, we'll just, you know, fall back on photography and nannying again. That'll be fine.
I mean, that's the thing, is like, especially if you're new in your career, like, it's not going to, the plan is not going to be laid out exactly the way you want it. So be prepared for, you know, paths to change in that plan. But if you take the approach, it's this horrible, terrible, no good, you're right, it is. But how are you going to make a change and make a difference? Because it's all about perspective. And, you know, there's a lot of perspective out there that can be had with some of the good things that we've learned from all of this, and some of the things we'll take away. And so if you spend all your time crying and complaining, you probably won't have a profitable business or a profitable career. But make a plan, change the plan, keep planning.
Yeah, I definitely do feel like things got a lot easier once I kind of just decided to myself that, like, oh, okay, this isn't like 2 more weeks kind of thing. Like, in the beginning, I was like under the impression, yeah, we'll just close for like 2 weeks and this thing will like kind of take care of itself, which I would see emails from back then to people where I'm like, oh, okay, let's talk about this after this is over in like 3 weeks. Like a totally ridiculous time capsule. Like, even this video, like, I would watch these in like 3 years and be like, what the heck was happening?
Right.
But like, and I think once I kind of just had them change to like the mindset of like, this is kind of an 18-month thing, then it really like helped clarify a lot of like goals and priorities and like things that we need to just be like planning for. And even if like it's better than that, it still helps to just be planning for the worst in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does, but I think on the good side of it, there are so many new tools and resources out there from the state, from the federal government. And, you know, a lot of people are like, I don't want to accept help or take help, but it's out there. And so look into it and utilize it. Yeah, I'm sure I would love to just run my business the way we run our business, and so would everyone. But guess what? These aren't traditional times. So take advantage of those tools that are out there. Call your local economic development group, or call, you know, your government entity, or call Emily's team. But reach out and ask for help and resources. It's still astounding to me how many things are out there and how many new programs and tools and grants are available. And I do this for a living, and I can barely keep up with this. I'm still learning new things every day. So don't be afraid to ask for help, but take advantage of them.
Yeah. You were also going to mention, this is how classy this interview is. I'm like, oh yeah, you were also going to mention the MEDC grants.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure everyone who is in Michigan knows that those grants, the application went live today. So go to michigan.org/restart. If you are a business with less than 50 employees, it's up to $20,000 in grant funding. Applications are all being funneled through MEDC, lots of FAQs on there, but just one of those other tools. It actually is free government money. There's no free, but you know, obviously there's some strings, but it's a great tool and resource. And so I'd encourage any business person or nonprofit who meets that criteria to put in an application and apply. You know, if you don't compete, you can't win. So new tool coming out today. And then there was also another one released today. If you're in food processing or in the ag safety business, there's some grants available for companies to pay for personal protective equipment. So every day there's something new. Now, I'm someone who loves change and would never do the same thing every day, but there's a lot of change out there. So just have to trust each other and ask each other for help.
Yeah, that is perfect. Yay. And then I guess just since we're nearing the end, what is something that you're looking forward to in West Michigan? So for people who don't know what West Michigan is like, it's like very idyllic over there. And then it's like the beaches are like so nice, and the outdoor life is definitely like, there's so many people that I'll be on conference calls with that they'll be like, I'm just on my porch in the woods overlooking Lake Michigan, and I'll be like, great. Like, fancy.
What am I looking forward to this summer?
Yeah, what's something that maybe like isn't necessarily happening this summer, but that you typically look forward to, and that like next summer you're like, or just in general?
Well, I love festivals, and I like farmers markets and all that outdoor stuff. So those are, I don't really love them with a mask on, but the one thing that I love this summer is I made the worst investment ever, which is to invest in building a pool in our house or in our backyard. So yeah, I've been looking into my horse. I guess I realized that COVID was coming because I built this pool. So now I love my pool more than anything.
Yeah, really. That was amazing. Good timing, because
I know it's amazing to have a pool.
I've heard people talk about like how everybody's like, well, this is the time to get a pool.
And I know
all that stuff, and that they're like, and I even remember when you were installing that pool, you had tried to get it like, oh, can this be open by like this time, because we want to be able to use the pool this summer, and they were like, oh no, we're booked out to the end of the summer. So I can't even imagine now.
I know. Yeah, so ours just opened last August. So yeah, so this year we've gotten a full use. So just being in the backyard, enjoying summer. Lake Michigan is gorgeous, and it is open. So anyone, should come visit it. The beaches are open. And I love walking on the beach. There's so many great places to hike where you can see Lake Michigan too. So always going on a long hike outdoors, fabulous park system. So anything that I can do to be outside and active is my summer wish list. And then I have 3 boys, like Emily's 2 crazy boys, and they're always chasing around some ball somewhere. So it's either basketball, baseball, football, soccer, or whatever we're watching them do. So that's most of my time right now.
Just from our visit, like I took, for those of you that don't know, I took my son Theo over to Jennifer's house for a weekend last summer. And since her boys are like the big boys, he was just like going crazy the entire time, like the big boys. And like, he still will be like you sent all those little guys that they no longer play with, and you're like, those are the bad guys. All the bad guys are around our entire dang house now. And he's always like, these bad guys from the big boys at Jennifer's house, and like, so it's like so funny. But yeah, so hopefully
it's fun. Boys are fun. Yay boys, yay entrepreneurs, and all that good stuff, right?
The title of this is now Yay Boys and Entrepreneurs.
Little boys.
Exactly. Cool. Well, yay. Thanks so much for making the time. I know you guys are like going crazy supporting all of the businesses in that region during this time, so I really appreciate it. And I will hopefully talk to you off of the internet soon.
That sounds good. Have a great summer. Thanks. And I'm like, keep up the great work. You're doing a fabulous job at Entry Point, and really encourage anyone who's looking for research or projects that to give Emily a call. She's fantastic, and her team. So keep it up.
Oh, thanks. Okay. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.